Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, it's me Gamerturk, and the second major news we received this week was of course the final game in the SAO Gameverse, Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, with a major story trailer, new character reveals, opening preview featuring ReoNa, Scarlet, and a whole lot more news. While everyone is busy raking in those views, talking about microtransactions and stuff, I first wanted to provide a proper news drop first. I think that's better for everyone involved, and I'll also have more in-depth videos regarding some of these news in the upcoming days. But yeah, as we do here on my channel, informing people is the priority, and I certainly can't do that if I dedicate 10 minutes to microtransactions from the get-go. So I'll first show you the full trailer translation. To be frank, Bandai Namco's own translation was quite janky. They completely ignored some lines and conjured their own, so I don't recommend skipping this one. And afterwards, I'll cover all the news in detail. I won't share opinions in this video specifically, otherwise we'll sit here for an hour. As I said, I'll do deeper videos on some of these news topics later next week, probably next week. So make sure to subscribe to not miss those. Also, I already did an Alicization Explained on the War of Underworld Part 2 trailer. It's currently only available on my Facebook page though, because Sony issued a copyright strike on it here on YouTube. You can find it over there. Anyways, without further ado, here is the Lycoris trailer with a more accurate translation, and then I'll share my opinions on the trailer and the new opening, as well as talk about all the news and new characters.
まさかこんなユニットが存在するとは。名前がないと不便ね。私が名付けてあげる。あなたは。
やっとお会いできましたね。私の救世主様。オルティナノスケ最後の救世主。メディナ・オルティナノス様。
最高司祭様の蘇生ですか。
何があっても俺が受け止めるから。
分かった。お前を信じる。
成功だな。
もしかして切られたい友達の背中を守るんだ。
オルティナノスケ最後の当主メディナこそが眠る最高司祭様を目覚めさせることができる。私はこの声に従い、あなた様を探し続けていました。
お前に聞きたいことがある。最高司祭様を殺したのは
俺がアドミニストレーターを倒した。
お前！
おのれリセリス、余計な真似を。それよりミオ、なんて美しい。
待たせてごめん。
キリト君！お前はなんで本当に受け止めるんだよ。
私の軍勢の目覚めを。お前らは永遠に俺たち聖国士には勝てねえよ。
正しい道、私を。
メディナを利用し傷つけたお前を許すわけにはいかない。
私は取り返しのつかないことを。
Okay, here we go. I really love that trailer. I feel like Scarlet by ReoNa will definitely become my favorite opening in the entire series once it comes out with the actual opening visuals, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Unlike the anime trailer, the entire Lycoris trailer is accompanied by the opening song, which I assume to be the full OP-sized thing, since it lasts about 90 seconds. Now, I don't want to go too much into depth with the song, since we don't know much about the story. Maybe I'll do an opening explained once we actually have the game opening with visuals and stuff, but for now, I still have some stuff to be mentioned. From what we got in the trailer, the song appears to be perfectly mirroring Medina's story, at least the vague plot pieces we have received so far, and some of this I believe would be minor spoilers for some of you, because I also do have early information on Medina from the Lycoris manga, so beware, skip to the next timestamp if you don't want to hear them. Very short, hopeful, pure and light tunes for Medina's childhood, growing up with her father, being told to always keep her chin up, have hope and be kind, and then with a bang the entire tune goes into chaos. That's the bit Medina loses her father and she has to walk her own path into the unknown to cleanse her family name, slowly gaining peace, at which point Medina comes across Yuji and Kirito on their way to Zakaria, still being very strict on herself, but slowly finds some sort of peace thanks to the light-hearted duo, eventually eventually making their way to the Swordcraft Academy through separate paths, but that's an entirely different topic. However, once again the song ramps up, entering the chorus perfectly timed with the trailer as well, right after Medina learns that Kirito was the one who killed the administrator, once again throwing her off her path with anger, since, as we know from this trailer, she now has plans to revive Quinella, which is something that exists as a concept in the main canon as well. Oh my, I'm really trying my damn best to keep this on track. All of these things deserve their own videos. And after the chorus, it slowly calms down again, which again, tying back to information we have in this trailer, Medina also slowly realizes her mistakes to turn on Hashirian instead, and whatever happens to her during this, it's not good, as the song comes to a very calm end, as if Medina is only lingering at this point, as it's Kirito this time around facing off Hashirian. Yeah, I'm going with Hashirian instead of what appears to be the official romanization of the name on PS4 publication of the trailer, with Hashirian. Just feels bad, the same way Silica feels bad compared to Shilika. Anyways, more to the OP. I am really enjoying the frantic tone to it with its high pace, but again, much like the War of Underworld Part 2 opening, it does have that sense of finality to it as well, which is quite fitting considering Lycoris is supposedly going to be the end of the Gameverse timeline. Now back to the contents of the trailer rather than the OP. This was a story trailer first and foremost, and the stream that was designed around it had quite a lot of story related news as well. They also had two separate gameplay sections on the stream, but for the sake of structure I'm leaving them out of this video. The beginning of the trailer is quite mysterious. Quinella is speaking to someone, having named someone, with the words of somebody else flashing on the screen. I genuinely have no clue who she's referring to specifically, but the trailer generally suggests one of the three people. It may be Medina, which I find quite unlikely. It may be Hashirian, mainly because the trailer kinda hints at the idea that it is his goal specifically to resurrect Quinella. And lastly, it may be the Empress of the Norlangarth North Empire, Kayode Norlangarth. Now, thanks to Valga from SAO Wikia for his tip, Mooncradle kinda plays with the idea of the Norlangarth North Emperor having the power to, well, not exactly revive, but kinda revive dead people. It's not exactly resurrection per se, but you can easily advertise it as such if you want, and it seems like Lycoris wants to play with this concept after Quinella's death, and Medina is key to this act. Hashirian has quite the presence throughout the trailer as well, seemingly showing utmost respect to Medina. I'll talk about Medina and Kirito's relationship in another video. We get some glimpses in this trailer, but I won't focus on it too much. I'd rather make a separate video regarding their relationship because we got a whole lot more interactions between the two in the manga that really shapes up Medina's personality as well. The trailer then confirms Sheta the Silent and Renly Synthesis 27 to be playable as well, and surprise surprise, the official SAO Alicization Lycoris website, the Japanese one obviously, the English one barely has any information on it, confirms that Renly will be using his unique weaponry, the double-winged blades. This was particularly interesting in my opinion because I certainly was not expecting the game to offer a one-time feature to a single character only. We have seen in previous trailers that all characters were capable of using all weaponry, and the throwing blades were not on that list. So yeah, seeing Renly having his unique weaponry is quite interesting and promising. Now, the bit I find peculiar is the Lycoris field shot. Well, yes, obviously the game is titled Lycoris, but more importantly, in the trailer we see Medina sharing a candid moment with Kirito on this specific field. She offers him a flower in a shy manner, and then at the end of the trailer we see Medina in the same place but crying instead, with the flower on her chest. It's pretty clear this is where the two break apart from each other, with Medina finally trusting Kirito. Hint, she's not a very trusting person in general, but some dialogue between the two causes the tone of the scene to change completely, maybe due to the "did you kill the administrator" convo happening here, you know, killing the one ruler of the world probably shakes some stuff there. Maybe due to some other thing that causes Kirito to blame himself for not being able to save her, that we have heard in other trailers, but it's obvious this is a very critical moment in the story. In the next scene, with the music going wild of course, we see Medina and Kirito fighting off against each other. This is also a scene we have seen before on some sort of ruins, Kirito raising his blade against Medina. Interestingly, this seems to be the exact same place that we see Medina and Hashirian later in the trailer, as well as where we see Kirito fighting against Hashirian at the end of the trailer. The thing is, based on what the trailer is showcasing, I'm not quite convinced Hashirian is the main villain of this game. In fact, I feel like Lycoris has yet to show its true antagonist. I mean, yes, obviously none of the War of Underworld stuff are in the trailers yet. We don't even know if it's gonna be in the base game or in the DLCs. But I just don't see Hashirian being the big bad, and seeing how much else the base game has to offer, there's definitely something more in the background. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the Human Realm Arc content, so I won't be highlighting them for the umpteenth time, but there are other things to mention in this quick cut sprinkled around. The Empress of the Norlangarth North Empire, Kayode Norlangarth, just looks fucking evil, and as I mentioned in one of the earlier news drops, her design looks so out of this world. I'm quite interested in seeing her part in the game. Specifically, is she gonna be an ally despite her evil looks to defend the human empire, or is she going to be an antagonist falling into the basket of the corrupt nobility of the civilization here? As the Empress of the Norlangarth Empire, she holds a shit ton of power in her hands that may easily sway the story one way or another, and considering Medina a protagonist in a sense, ending up a villain at times, I certainly can see the evil looking witch lady here being an ally for the sake of the human empire. Then we cut to a giant the race Sigurosik was the leader of, and to be frank, not much is visible in the frame, which is destroyed even further due to video compression, usually not liking dark environments or the color red, both of which are present in this shot. But then the tone of the trailer takes a complete 180, and from the generally bright scenery, we reach somewhere that must be somewhere in the dark territory, and this is one of the reasons why I think there is something more to the plot than just Hashirian, as we have seen him fight Kirito back in the altar area, whereas the situation here seems a whole lot more like Endgame, with Hashirian holding all the Integrity Knights in stasis and waking up Barkuli. In fact, this may explain something we'll see in a bit. But first we cut to the floor 100 of the Central Cathedral, which shows Yu-Gi-Oh's fusion with the Blue Rose Sword. The next scene appears to be in another altar of some sorts. The dialogue makes it seem like this is where Kirito wakes up, but if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel right. Sure, Gameverse is having things differently, so Cardinal's here, Alice still has her eye patch. It's just that everyone appears a little too happy and casual rather than surprised in this specific cut, and Kirito simply appears to be pushing... What is that? Is that a curtain or something? It certainly feels like there's some misdirective editing going on in this scene. I love the scene of Medina stubbornly walking away from Kirito as the continuation of the scene at the very beginning. After reading a bit of the manga, that's such a Medina thing to do, with the perfect shy, embarrassed, stiff walking animation as well. And Kirito is just there like, the fuck did I do wrong again? But we're getting even more in this trailer. We got this dude in full armor from the Dark Territory, seemingly from the Dark Territory, and he is not advertised as a Dark Knight. He is introduced as the Black Knight, as a brand new character in fact, and he's obviously commanding some sort of forces here, whatever the hell he's doing, wherever the hell he is. While we do not know anything about this character, I find him thoroughly intriguing because what we know of other things surrounding him, it brings more context to him, you know. Considering the baseline main canon is still functioning, the Dark Knights at this point still are commanded by Vixurul Shasta, and this Black Knight person having his own army is either an important high-ranking officer of the Dark Knights or potentially a rogue faction within the Dark Territory. To be frank, I find Dark Territory power struggle matters quite interesting as a concept, so a potential rogue faction there really sparks my interest. The info slide is quite interesting as well. They slowly walk, donning heavy armor. Are they a ghost of the past, an invader from the Dark Territory? Their identity is shrouded in mystery. Okay, I feel like I'm doing very slow with this trailer, still didn't get to the actual news bits, but we see Sheta Synthesis 12 with the piety module sticking out of her head. Now Sheta never triggers her piety module in the main canon. However, looking around in the area, this appears to be the same place that the knights are trapped in stasis. So chances are Integrity Knights are under Hashirian's control here, and we may need to destabilize them, maybe even uncover their full past, something the anime really shied away from, for them to break free from the spell of fake Merlin here. Again, we see the same thing with Düsselbert, that is obviously not the central cathedral, and he didn't get destabilized during that encounter in the first place. However, in this dark ruins area, he has the piety module sticking out of his head as well. But yeah, that's all I got from the trailer. It's already been too long anyways. Some of those things I'll have deeper videos on later, but for now, I actually got to live up to the name of this video and actually present the rest of the news. We got an in-depth introduction to sacred arts. It is surprisingly intricate now that we had proper explanations for them. Just like some other things, this will have its own video with more details soon, but the gist of it is, each element serves a different purpose. All have different ranges and resulting effects. Some are buffs, some are debuffs, some are attacks, etc, etc. Dates have been expanded on a bit more compared to Hollow Realization. There are even more dialogue options now compared to prior games, which was already confusing enough with yes and no questions due to not optimal translations, let's say. And hand-holding and bridal carries are back as well. Please tell me I am not the only person who wants to bridal carry Berkuli in the streets of Centauria. Now the real interesting bit of news comes here, the future plans for Alicization Lycoris. The game aims to be a little bit of a live service while also retaining the usual game format you are used to from the previous games. As a result, there are two layers, one free content which consists of things like monthly raids, a daily quest system, the cube system and more, whereas the paid content includes 2 DLCs and direct purchase options into the cube system. Now let's get into more detail. Now, as with many things, we'll have a more in-depth video on the cube concept because it is very crucial to be informed properly on, but the cube, at its core, it's a loot box. The thing is, it's not a purchasable loot box, it's only an earnable loot box via the daily quest system. It has new outfits, weapon skins and the like. The microtransaction aspect comes in here with real money. You can purchase SAO coins and use them to directly purchase specific items offered in cubes, but you cannot purchase the cubes themselves to actually pull from the gacha. Now, there are still a whole lot of unknowns on this system, which is one of the main reasons why I don't want to talk more about the cube system in this video. If the cubes are not faded out over time like a mobile game does with its, banners, you essentially have an endless chance of getting all the items you want over the course of your lifetime. That's the most perfect way it can go. If it has duplicate protection, well, even perfecter, I guess. Or perhaps you can get duplicates, but duplicates reward you SAO coins, so you can still directly purchase something you don't have when you have enough duplicates, etc. What would be quite troubling is if the cubes are limited time offerings like a mobile game, aka get the item you want before the next refresh or it's gone forever, which will be quite a slimy move for a single player focused game. The UK press release states that players would be able to receive all items in a cube offering by playing daily and doing the daily quests, but again, no info was provided whether someone who doesn't perhaps play every day, for example, can get all the items in a longer time without those items disappearing from the store forever. That's the bit we really need a clarification on. So far, I have reached out to SAO Gamers producer Yosuke Futami and am awaiting response on the matter. Not sure if I'm gonna get it, but yeah, that is the most crucial bit in my opinion and needs a clarification. Then comes the free raid quest content. The first one is titled Apostle of the Ancients. We don't have any details on this at the moment, aside from it will be released shortly after the release of the game itself, but the idea of raids is something that really interests me. They tried this idea with Sacrament dungeons back in Hollow Realization, which I have to say they were quite fun, and if this raid quest is a multiplayer adventure for endgame players, then yeah, we're potentially looking at an incredibly promising endgame activity for players, and it is free content, can't complain. The DLC is the major paid content here. If you get the deluxe edition, you obviously get the premium pass, which enables you to get the 2 DLCs the game will have. they are promising pretty damn lengthy DLCs, and knowing it's Akuria behind the game, that's probably true. Names of the DLCs or any details are yet to be announced, which makes me feel like the names of the DLCs will have the potential to spoil what the story will offer quite a lot. So yeah, that is all the news. We got 2 different gameplay sections to cover later down the line. I got things in this news drop I want to go deeper into, but those are all for future videos, as this one is, goddamn, it's quite long already. Though you know what Alicization Lycoris is lacking at the moment, I've been getting this feeling for quite some time, just this one thing that is missing in every trailer, in every news drop, in every gameplay demo. Lens Squad! Free yourself from the lack of lens in the game by getting yourself Lens Squad merch. Drawn by the amazing Jen K, you got these 4 silly bunnies shooting at each other with their epic facial expressions. It totally makes you forget that Len is not in Alicization Lycoris. Go grab your merch from my Teespring shop, link in the description, $5 discount code available for patrons and members in their respective feeds. If you made it this far, question for you: who do you think Quinella is talking to at the beginning of this trailer? And also, please explain why you think it's that individual. I'd love to hear your speculations and perspectives. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to not miss out on more Sword Art Online content. Like, only 14% of you are subscribed. If you made it this far, you probably do care for this type of content, so just press the damn thing. It helps you get content, it helps me get my content to you, it doesn't help YouTube because they fucking demonetized me for non-original content, which is blasphemy. But it's also a fact that you hitting that subscribe button makes me feel good about myself despite being financially crippled by this stupidity. As always though, thank you very much for watching, and a special thanks to all my patrons and channel members. I'll see you next time, and until then, stay cool.